Hi, I'm Angeline Saris, and I want you to check out ForBassPlayersOnly.com.
You're from the Bay Area, right?
I am. And I started playing bass when I was 15, and they needed a bass player one year, and I was playing clarinet before that and didn't like it, and so I was like, that sounds so cool. And he was like, well, if you take private lessons, then you can be in the jazz band. And so I studied, I learned all my theory and all my modes, and that was kind of the beginning of it all. Yeah.
And once you discovered the bass, who were your influences?
My influences, well, starting out were a lot of jazz bass players, so Ron Carter, Charles Mingus. I remember reading Beneath the Underdog when I was like 16, which is not really 16-year-old reading. Yeah, Ray Brown. And then I had a lot of jazz artists that were bass players that were my influences, like Herbie Hancock, Kenny Garrett, people like that. And then it was sort of later that I got more into rock. So John Paul Jones, Pino Palladino, Victor Wooten, not that he's, Bella Fleck, and I don't know, the whole gamut.
Well, how did your career get rolling? What were you doing at first? What kind of gigs were you doing?
Well, it's funny. I actually went to college to be a lawyer, and I graduated undergrad and decided to postpone getting my Juris Doctorate, and was always playing bass for fun. I was a hobbyist, and then I just sort of realized one day, I kept collecting all these music school pamphlets, and I sort of realized one day that I was in denial, essentially, and that I needed to pursue my hobby, which was becoming a bass player, or my dream, just becoming a bass player. So I just started saying yes to gigs. I wanted to go to school, but I didn't have the money. So I was like, I'll just save up for a little while and start gigging. And so I just said yes, and one gig, somebody heard me, turned into 2, turned into 4, turned into 8, and just kept branching out, and all of a sudden, now it's been 8 or 9 years since I've been doing it professionally, and here I am.
And what's keeping you busy these days?
Well, a lot of projects. I work as a freelance bass player, and I work as a session bass player too. So I get, hired gun work, touring work. But I also play with Narada Walden in his solo project, and then I play in a band called Zepparella, which is an all-female Zeppelin band, and the Gretchen Menn band. And then I also have my own project, which I'm starting.
Well, you mentioned all-female. You're in a position in a field that traditionally has been dominated by men. And I'm just curious if that presents any kind of issues, or is it something you don't even think about, or what is your comment on that?
No, I definitely think about it, and I think sometimes it can be really polarized, the experience of being a woman playing an instrument that is kind of traditionally known as a man's instrument, like the bass or the drums or something like that. And so I think the reaction can be really polarized from the public. Either people tend to put you on a pedestal, or they tend to judge you more harshly than they would maybe a male musician. So I've seen both sides of it, and I went to a Cindy Blackman clinic once, the drummer, and I asked her, for advice around that, and she just said, you know what? Just be the best player that you can be, and just show up, and don't worry about the rest. And I think that's sort of what I've done. I've made sure that I'm professional, I have a good attitude, I'm well prepared, I shed the material, and then I practice as much as I can, and that's it,
What kind of equipment are you using these days?
I'm using the Fender Super Bassman Pro. It's a 300-watt head. Sounds killing. And then an 810, which is all neodymium cabs, so it's super lightweight. And then they actually have a new Rumble series, which they're releasing here at NAMM 2014, which sounds killer, and it has the old kind of face from the Super Bassman. So it just sounds really good. So I'm using that. I use GHS strings, and I have a Fender bass, a Sadowski bass, and mono cases, and EMG pickups, and Providence cables.
What about the future? What else would you like to do that you haven't accomplished? You're still pretty young, and you have a lot of energy, obviously. What other dragons would you like to slay?
I have a lot of dragons I'd like to slay. I think my main goals right now are to finish my solo project, which I'm working on right now, and release an EP with within the next 3 or 4 months. And then to also continue to tour and play with people that I admire musically, like people like Narada, or I got to play with Carlos Santana last year, and that was an amazing experience. Or Ernest Ranglin, who's like, practically invented ska and reggae, and I think just having experiences like that are so enriching. They just change your life. So I'd love to keep continuing to play with artists of that caliber, and I'd love to improve as an artist. And then I'd like to also give back by kind of mentoring upcoming females in the business, or upcoming girls, in a way that they might need support. So I'm kind of working on some ideas around that, which will probably be released soon.
Last question, Angeline. What would you be if you were not a bass player? It has to be something outside of music.
Oh, that's a good question. Well, I wouldn't be a lawyer anymore because I just kind of fell out of love with that. I was a double major in dance. Maybe it'd be something to do with dance, the arts, probably in some way. Maybe a sommelier. I like wine.
Angeline, great catching up with you, and good luck with all the projects, and we look forward to seeing and hearing lots more of you in the near future and in the distant future as well.
Oh, well, thank you so much for having me for Bass Players Only.